Hello and welcome to the next installment of my series on how to play great songs. Today's guitar lesson will be a song by the band called The Wait. Alright, the part of this song that requires the most explanation would be the intro part. So I'll break this down piece by piece and we'll get through that first. It's easiest probably to break that down into simple sections. This is how the whole thing goes. And this is definitely a situation where it's easier to teach than it is to actually execute this. I just learned this, so I apologize for not being really good at this. But I know that I at least can teach you how to go. So we'll break it down into different sections. The first section is this part. Just those 4 beats, the first measure of the intro. And you put your finger, your bar the index finger on frets 2, 3, and 4. I'm sorry, strings 2, 3, and 4 on fret number 9. So bar fret number 9, just these 3 strings, 2, 3, and 4. And you want to put your middle finger on string number 2, 10th fret. So you're barring these 3 on the 9 and then put your middle finger on the 10th. And you're basically going to hold that position for the entire first measure of the intro. So these 2 fingers do not move at all. And you can break down the first part of this intro even further by taking it in 1 beat chunks, 4 different chunks of 1 beat apiece. The first of which is this, and that's strumming strings 3 and 4 together and using a hammer-on technique on the 4th string from 9 to 11. The first note is 9 to 11 hammer-on like that. And then the second note is 3rd string by itself. So it's 3 and 4 together with a hammer on, and then 3 by itself. 3 and 4 together, 3 by itself. And that's the first beat. It's the 1 and part of the measure. 1 and, like that. The second one goes kind of the same way, only you're using strings 3 and 2. 3 and 2 together, and you hammer on string number 3 from 9 to 11, just like you did for the first one. So it's strings 2 and 3 together with a hammer on from 9 to 11 on string 3. And then you do string number 2 by itself. So it's those 2. 2 and 3 together, 2 by itself. 2 and 3 together, 2 by itself. So backing up a little bit, the first two beats of the song are this. Whoops. Let's see if I can get this. Okay, that's the first 2. Now the third beat is on strings 3 and 2 again with the same hammer-on technique on string 3, 9 to 11. Only this time you pluck the 3rd string by itself, not the 2nd string. So it's 2 and 3 together, 3 by itself. 2 and 3 together, 3 by itself. 2 and 3 together. Man, I know I'm bad at this, but trust me, this is how it goes. 2 and 3 together, 3 by itself. 2 and 3 together, 3 by itself. And then you go back down to strings 3 and 4 again, and hammer on 9 to 11 on string number 4. So you strum 3 and 4 together with the hammer on from 9 to 11 on string 4. And then it's 3 by itself again. So the fourth beat of that is the same as the first beat. That's how it starts, and that's how that measure ends. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of like that. I'll get it one of these days. Anyway, you after that chunk, now you can slide down your index finger from 9 to 7. And this time you only need strings 3 and 4. So you don't need to put your middle finger down at all. You just use your index finger to bar strings 3 and 4 on the 7th fret. And you use the same hammer-on technique. This time it's on string 4, 7 to 9. And you do that one twice. Do it twice, followed by strings 3 and 4 together without the hammer on. Just like that. And all 3 times you're strumming 3 and 4 together. No single string strums in this part of the intro. After that, you go to 7th fret, 5th string, and you'd hit single notes here. 7, 7, 9, 7, 9 on the 6th string, and then open A. So 7, 7, 9, 7, 9 on the 6th string. And be sure to end up on this A, the 5th string, the open A, it's a 5th string. It's kind of easy to go, don't hit the open E there, you hit the A. So you're back to the 5th string. And from there on out, the song's a piece of cake compared to that. To round out the intro, you strum this A for a measure. Kind of get everybody warmed up. And then you start the verse. So I'm going to try to go through that again just to give you how the timing goes. Start the verse. Okay, now I'll explain the verse. It's pretty easy. First chord is A. Second chord, C sharp minor. Third chord, D. Or D right here. Kind of sounds the same. And then back down to A. Now, one note about how to play this A. You see me using the one finger technique where you bar strings 2, 3, and 4, leaving 1 open and 5 open. I've never been comfortable with that finger, and I've always been a 3-fingered A kind of person. Like that. For the longest time, this is the only way I ever played A, was putting all 3 fingers on there. It's just been more comfortable for me. But in this song, I had to learn the different way to do it. And it's definitely well worth learning because it opens up a lot of possibilities with not just this song, but other songs. So get comfortable with the 1-fingered A. And I recommend using that for every time you play an A in this song. So that's one line of the verse. You know, just going through that progression one time is one line of the verse, and there's 4 lines in each of the verse. So you just go through that 4 times. Okay, that's 4 lines of the verse. And each verse is exactly the same length like that. So now when you get to the chorus, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can just go the easy route and it's just A and D. There, you do that 3 times, A and D. That's sort of an easier way to version. If you want to do it that's a little bit more subtle and more hinting at the way that the band kind of sounds when they do it, they actually add the G sharp note to the A chord. And that's one of the reasons why it's worth learning the one-fingered A, because you're going to play off it with this G sharp in the bass. First you hit A normal, and then on your next strum, you add that G sharp in the bass before going up to the D. And it sounds like this. So you go through that 3 times either way. And when you're hitting this G sharp in the bass, the finger that you use to push down the 4th fret on the 6th string is also going to kind of mute the 5th string. So you're going to mute the open A string during that. It kind of happens naturally. Thankfully, you don't have to think about it too much. It just, when you put your finger there, it's naturally just going to bump into this 5th string. It mutes itself practically. Do that 3 times, and then you get to the line of the chorus where it pauses for a bit and all the singers go and you strum it twice on D to sort of kick that off. And then you do 6 beats where you just hold that note without any strumming. Just put a pause in there for 6 beats. And it's actually a 7-beat measure, with the first beat being the strums. That's 1 and. The 1 and of the 7-beat measure. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Back down to A. And the way I think of it is I just hit the double strum there, and then do 6 taps on the guitar. Strum it twice and then 6 taps on the beat. The first 3 of those silent beats are when the singers go and the next 3 are when they go put the load right on me. So either way, it's 6 taps on guitar. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then 8. And at this part, you're doing a rundown. And this is where it's most important to learn that 1-finger A chord, because it's absolutely necessary to do this rundown. You hit the first part of it is just the A like normal, and then you change the bass note to the G sharp. Then you change the bass note to the F sharp, 2nd fret, and then you hit the open E, and then to D, and let it ride out the measure before you start the next verse. So how that goes in the rhythm, I'll just play the whole chorus line so you can get the rhythm of that walk down. Put the load right on me. right back into the verse. And that's the whole song right there. Once you go through that, you've played everything that there is to that song. And just a note about how you play these kind of bass notes. If you do the technique I was talking about during the chorus, where you add the G sharp within the middle of the chorus, if you're playing the chorus line like that, when you hit the G sharp, you don't want to overemphasize that bass note too much. You want to just sort of let it ring along with the rest of the chord. You don't want to just exaggerate it too much. Just try to make it blend with your strumming all 6 strings. The only one that's muted is going to be this 5th string. And so that's why I think it's kind of a subtle technique to use. You don't want that G sharp to just dominate everything. You just put it in there for flavor. So somewhere in there was like the right technique of what I was talking about. But contrast that to when you do the run at the end of the chorus line. In that situation, you really are emphasizing the bass notes to a large degree. You first emphasize the open A. I'll do it again. You emphasize the bass notes in the walk down. Now walk down again. The bass is A open, G sharp, F sharp, E. And the whole time you're doing that, you're holding the A chord up here with your one finger. And you launch back into the next verse. After you've done that, you're ready for the next verse, and then the chorus, and then the next verse, and it's always the same. Just keep in mind, after you're doing that walk down, you launch right into the next verse. There's not a measure of A that sort of buffers it like there is in the intro. You know, when you're coming off the intro, it's like this. Oops, wrong fret. No wonder that sounded terrible. There's that 4 beats of A that buffer the first verse coming in. But after you come out of the chorus with the walk down, there's no real buffer. So that's how you play the verse, chorus, and everything else with the song. One final note about the song structure regarding these walk downs. There's a time when you do it just one time, and there's a time where you repeat it. So you double up on it. The first 3 verses are followed by a single walk down. So you do that the first 3 times. Now verses 4 and 5, you double up on it. So it goes like this. So that's after verse 4 and 5. Now verse 5 is the end of the song. So after all the singing's done, you're finished and you end the song with this. And you hold that for the end. In the band's version, they just leave it suspended right there on the D chord like that. If it makes you feel better, you can resolve it back down to A. You know. You can do that or whatever else you want. But that's the end of the song. So, good luck. Well, there you have it. The Wait by The Band. Thanks again, and I hope you're enjoying my series on how to play great songs. Bye.